we have the bin systems, and then we have then the Kanban card, right? Which your Send.ai will actually make Kanban cards for you, and the card moves with the material. And when there's no material there, they use the card to know what should be in the bin, or so the card is moving back and forth, used classically at Toyota. And then of course, once we had electronic systems, then we had electronic Kanbans, which is a request showing up on a screen somewhere, and it might be triggered by an electronic sensor, for example.
New order, anything. Yep.
So electronic Kanbans sort of are more common now than the card. Would you say that, or are cards, people still like in cards in the US? I think electronic is more common now.
Here's the thing though, an electronic Kanban as it's described, definitely. I disagree with, like, SAP doesn't give you a Kanban. SAP is not going to do Kanban. SAP is going to give you min-max and then trigger you to reorder. So again, it's loosely kind of a Kanban, but it's more of a just min-max safety stock program, in my opinion. So they do, it's just a lot of them are still kind of wonky in terms of what they're doing. They're just min-max reorder points with safety stock built into them, and they don't really evolve with the process, which is the point of the Kanban and why you'd make a card. So I'm gonna kind of answer that indirectly, because I think you're right that most people use them, but I don't agree with that still. I think the electronic way it's great when you've got a system that works, and you can, again, you've got either IT that can adapt, your Kanban system, or you've got it surfaced in an interface where somebody can adjust that based on, what's real. But in reality, when these are implemented, what happens is, someone in a supply group is, demand planning supply group is going to make a grid, basically. What they think min-max is based on the trailing 12 months. Then they'll put in a ticket for IT to, install that grid, or basically, sync that up with the database so that your ERP is now looking at that. And then that basically becomes your Kanban logic. So what happens is it lives like that for years, because once it's in place, people forget about it. They move on to other projects. It just becomes the way things work. So when it works for 2 or 3 years, that's great. Then in the 3rd year, it breaks. And then, we've got to go back and, well, now the person who built that grid is no longer here, so we don't remember how to do it. And the IT people lost the query to upload it. So it's basically, you've got to start all over again. And so they can work. They're very fragile the way that they're implemented right now. And they rely a lot on a lot of different people with a lot of kind of distributed expertise to work. With the cards, you get people in a room, write stuff down on paper, and then in 5 minutes print out laminated cards, and you've got a Kanban, and then tomorrow when things change, you bring those people back into a room for 5 minutes, blah blah blah. What changed? Change the Kanban. Now you've got a better Kanban than you did yesterday. And that's kind of what needs to, because a Kanban it's necessarily a dynamic system. Your demand is going to fluctuate from day to day. Your production system capabilities are going to fluctuate from day to day. So none of that is static. And it's the same thing with kind of like the virtual, like visual systems in plants. That's what Spend is. That's one of the things we do, is those virtual boards, like virtual hour by hour SQDC. But I'll always tell people, never ever start with that. Don't ever start with the virtual tool that's going to lock you into a way of doing things until you have iterated through how that's going to break and how that's going to force you into a mode first. Because if you don't like it,
the virtual tool being electronic, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Unless you're building it yourself, which again, most places aren't going to do that because it's an investment and everything like that. And for a virtual board and things like that, they're not going to pay for a UL certification to make sure the power supply can be used out on the floor. So even though that, we sell those things, I always tell people, before you go ahead and install that and start, basically paying for the licensing and everything that goes with it, go to Kinko's, print a couple of them out, put them out on a line, and try it for a couple weeks. Because your operators are going to come back to you and yell at you and tell you, why are you measuring me? So my point is it's the same thing with the Kanban. That's the benefit of the cards, and why we do things on paper is because it reflects a system that changes from day to day. And technology just hasn't caught up with that yet, and its ability to sort of be flexible to those changing conditions.
There's a tip from the top there if you're watching this. Don't go full in on the electronic virtual Kanban system before you've tried it with something physical. Use something with a card or a bin or something. Make sure it works that way.